Fair use.
Open up you my lips, and let my mouth show forth your praise. Umar, Yahweh, Wiafutsu Yeveka, Mianusa Misaneka Mitaneka. Arise of you, O Yahweh. Let your enemies be scattered, and let those that hate thee flee from before thee. Let all of Yasharah, Yisrael, who love, worship, and praise Yahweh, give him thanks by saying Hallelujah.
Shalom, family, and thank you. Welcome to Into All Truth. I pray that the Ruach HaKodesh will lead you into all truth and show you things to come and transform you by the renewing of your heart so you may know what is the good, acceptable, and perfect will of Yahuwah in these end times, knowing that the Spirit of Yahuwah goes before you and guides you and leads you into all truth, the angel of Yahuwah. Thank you so much for your donations. They help me so much. Please pick up Moed Into All Truth calendar to help you keep the appointed times, or Chaya Eat, Life, and Fast to help you fast and eat according to Torah. So today we are going to talk about some of the brilliant things that Dr. Umar is saying. Although he is not a Hebrew Israelite, he's got some amazing solutions for reparations. So let's get into it. I just want to mention the code red, black, and white. It is very non-Hebraic and opposed to Hebraic. We see the black and white, of course, with the Illuminati, and the red as well, symbolizing blood, and the Hegelian dialectic with the red, with the black and the white. And so it is very anti-Hebrew. Not a lot of people. There are people who are using this who are Hebrews who probably just don't know, but it's generally codified as against Israel in terms of colors. Israel, again, is blue and red and white and purple and gold. So black and red and white tend to be the colors of China and also the Arabs. Now, in the Jewish Encyclopedia, it mentions the red dragon several times. So there's the image of the dragon in Pompey's great fall. In Solomon, in Esther, it describes the conflict between Haman and Mordecai as a battle between two dragons. And the legend of Bel the dragon, it's mentioned. But of course, most important, we see it in the great red dragon mentioned here in Revelation, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon its head. And so this is the wonder in heaven that pursues the woman and tries to destroy Israel. So this is the mystical story of the persecution of the divine child and his heavenly mother by the great red dragon. Okay, so these are the attacks of the devil on the Messiah. And you see it's attached to the Oriental myth of the enmity of the dragon for the child of the sun. Now, this is tied into dragon worship. All right, so when we look at it here, the Chinese red dragon is extremely significant. They think it's a good omen, right? And it's associated with fire, passion. So passion is unholy. And it's associated with the South and Chinese New Year. And it's the symbol of the god of fire. So it's also associated with Mars. So that's the god of war, right? Which is the god of fire. And of course, the metaphor of the sun. So it's sun god worship. So it's very Hamitic in the area of Canaan. All right. And so these, and of course, the yin yang sign, as we know in the Chinese culture, is very, very, very much black and white. So whenever we're seeing black and white and red, we're talking about Hamitic symbolism. Okay. So we see red for Mars, we see white for Venus, and we see Mercury for black. And the west is symbolized by the white, the north by the black. So these are the enemies of Israel, is the north and the west, right? And of course, the red fire, although it symbolizes the south, it's more associated with Esau, Edom. Okay, so it is not Hebraic. Red and blue and white and gold are associated with Israel. All right, so this is, now I know there's some channels who do use this who are Israel, but I guess they just don't know. They use it in error, but these are typically, this is signifying the empire of Esau, Edom, and Ham and Egypt. So Satan's empire, essentially. So I just wanted to mention that, and then I also wanted to mention that we're going to hear here that Dr. Umar practices Yoruba. Now, I really enjoy a lot of what he has to say, so I'm sharing the positive with you because he's not a Hebrew, but it's amazing the things he teaches. He teaches amazing things about women as well, that people need to marry the women of Israel, or if you're mixed, you need to marry back into Israel only. So he's really good for that. He says that in this video, but I love a lot of the things that he says, but I just, want you to be aware he claims to be following Yoruba. And of course, these are the things, you can say a lot more when you're not saying you're Israel, but nonetheless, he has extremely valuable things to say. So, and by the way, he really does prop up and follow Mr. Marcus Garvey, but of course, Marcus Garvey came from a Baptist background. Always Israel, and especially the Maroons and those coming out of the West Indies are always coming from a Hebraic perspective. And the reason why they killed Malcolm X, of course, is because he said we're Israel. And so this is always the case. And he gets very close to these truths, but he never directly speaks about them. But still, he speaks a lot of truth. So let's get into it.
Congrats on the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. I've been paying attention. I see that you got the building.
Yes, August 21st, 2017, the Great North American Eclipse. I stopped, I saw the campus. I said, this looks pretty nice. When I got back from that, Turner, I had to go to Cuba first to get my Ifa initiation. I practiced Yoruba spirituality. Turner, I had to go to Cuba first to get my Ifa initiation. I practiced Yoruba spirituality. Came back from Cuba, and I got a chance to go into the school, and I saw it. I said, we want this school.
What's really curious is that Ifa refers to ephod. It's the same word. I'm going to do a little thing on Hebrew in the language next, Igbo and Hebrew language. But Ifa refers to an ephod. So my prayer is that he shifts course at some point, or Yah causes him to. But anyway, so yeah, he clearly says he practices Yoruba spirituality and he was initiated in Cuba. But I'll do some more research later, but I'm curious about that.
And Johnny Cochran was murdered because Johnny Cochran was on the verge of finding out, or he was going to determine how much reparations America owes African people. Mm-hmm. Right after that, Johnny Cochran ends up dead.
What do you think about the study of H.R. 40? You know what I mean? Because, that study is
the reparations bill.
Yeah, it's the reparations bill that's supposed to see and determine, who gets reparations and how much reparations.
Well, let's take it a step further. Mm-hmm. The state of California legislature just approved in the past few days a bill that will give each African American in the state of California $233,000 as a reparations payment.
I think that's some bullshit. I think Gavin Newsom is just doing that because reparations is going to be the buzzword for 2024 to get black people energized.
It is, and it's also a trap. Now, first of all, the reparations movement comes out of the Pan-Africanist movement. We gave birth to reparations. It's not anything new. That's our thing, although it's for the whole people. A cash payout for reparations is a trap. And the reason a cash payout for reparations is a trap is because so much of what needs to be fixed in American society for African people will take more than cash to do it. In other words, I give DJ Envy $233,000. Or if I take the Bob Johnson plan, he said each American African is due $350,000, right? I give you $350,000. Does that stop mass incarceration?
Nope.
Does that stop miseducation? Does that stop gentrification? Does that stop police genocide? Does that guarantee us access to wealth? I mean, in the state of California, what can you get with $233,000? I'm not even sure if that's enough for a house. And on top of that, the minute they give you the payment, they can reduce the value of the payment through inflation. So I can flood the economy with money so the 233 is only worth 120 in about 24 hours. And then guess what they're going to do after they give the reparations to African people? They're going to find subsidy programs to give to the LGBTQ, to the women, to immigrants, to other people. So at the end of the day, what looked like a step up for black people would be a step back. If I was in charge of the reparations conversation, number one, control of all black music must only be done through the black community. No non-African can control our music. Prince, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Biggie, Tupac, if the publishing, if the marketing, if the promotion, if the recording is not controlled by black people, that has to change. We own our own music. Nobody can own, sell, produce, publish, promote black music but black people.
Why is that so important?
Because music is one of America's leading export industries. America makes more money off black music than almost anything else that she sells. So if we control the music, we have a steady stream of global revenue where we can build a black Wall Street in every single city in America for black people. That's how much money will be coming in from black music. That's one. Two, all black inventions return to us permanently. Everything we invented is a permanent patent for Africans. And if you want to use it, you must pay us a percentage. The cell phone, we invented that. Internet, that's ours. Helicopter, that's ours. Self-lubricating engine, the microphone, the stop sign, the walkie-talkie. Why are those lights on right now? Because a black man named Lewis Latimer wrote a textbook that taught China, the UK, Canada, and America how to light up a whole city at night. Without Lewis Latimer, you don't get street lights at night. You don't get constant illumination anywhere in the world. So guess what? Anybody running lights, you paying black people. Take back ownership of our music. Take back ownership of our inventions. Next on the list is all the confiscated lands. We had hundreds of thousands of acres of land stolen from us between 1865 and Malcolm's assassination in 1965. We need to put together a research team that's going to investigate all the land that was stolen from African people and return it back. Since most of our people are dealing with homelessness, we have the highest homelessness rate in black America since the 60s. If we can get our land back, that will go a long way to getting a lot of our single mothers and their children off the street. Right. In addition to that, America has about 10 major exports: gold, oil, water, electricity. We get a 25% cut permanently. This is perpetual. Every time America makes a dollar, we get 25 cents of that dollar as part of the reparations payment. American Africans, 60% of us make up 10 states. All 10 of the states that represent 60% of us are seaboarding states. We should automatically control the port so we know what's coming in, what's going out, and we also get a percentage of that. But here's my biggest issue with reparations 3. One, psychological damages. I'm not hearing enough of the reparations talking heads discuss enough about the psychological damages. You know you can get far more from what you're owed psychologically than you can ever get for 243 years of unpaid labor on the plantation. The psychological damage is what affects us the most. Every time you see a black man with a white woman, that's psychological damage. Every time you see a black woman with a blonde wig on her head, that's psychological damage. Every time you see a little black boy or girl playing with a white doll instead of a black doll, that's psychological damage. When you see a black man take the life of another black man, that's psychological damage. America owes us more for the psychological Holocaust than she can ever owe for the labor. So we need to talk more about that. In addition to that, I don't hear nobody talking about the role the Arabs played in the transatlantic slave trade. I don't hear anybody talking about the role that the European Jews played in the slave trade. I don't hear nobody talk about the role that the Catholic Church played in the slave trade. If we're going to talk about reparations, bring every group that was responsible, those who financed the slave ships.
That'd be Nigerians too, though.
Okay, let's talk about that. There was participation from some African kingdoms. We know that Dahomey, for example, which was popularized in the Lion King movie. The Woman King movie. There was some African participation, but guess what? The transatlantic slave trade was a European operation. It was controlled. It grew. It was financed by Europeans. When many of the African nations found out what was really being done to us, Because in Africa, there was no concept of chattel slavery. There was no such thing as owning people forever. There was no such thing as perpetual ownership of an entire family line or a bloodline. You understand? There was no such thing as being dehumanized. European slavery stripped African people of our humanity. There's no precedent for that in the world before European chattel slavery. They didn't know what they were getting into. They were wrong and can be held accountable. They owe us as a people internal reparations, just like we owe ourselves as a people internal reparations. Here's what I want to say. We are entitled to reparations. We will get it. But let us be clear something. Money isn't going to fix many of the problems that we have. Money isn't going to stop the back and forth accusations and tearing down that's going on all over the internet between black men and black women. Money not going to stop that. Money ain't going to make the black man love the white woman anymore. You understand me? Money is not going to remove the self-hatred complex that so many African people have within us. There's so much that we have to do on our own that money cannot buy. So anybody who thinks that money is going to reverse the psychological holocaust is insane. It has its place, but it is not a panacea for all of our problems. And I am of the opinion that if you don't change the way we think before we get reparations, if you don't build an infrastructure for African people before we get reparations, you change nothing else about African people.
Thank you, everyone, for your donations and support. It means a lot. And subscribe or simply become a member at IntoAllTruth.net to get updates on videos. Subah Yahuwah Reb Aleph Yasharel. Subah Yahuwah Reb Aleph Yasharel. Return, O Yahuwah, to the countless thousands of Israel.
And let those that hate thee flee from before thee. Let all of Yasharah, Yisrael, who love, worship, and praise Yahweh, give him thanks by saying Hallelujah.